The Gospel of Gold by G.S. Lewis.
"Champion!" panted Will, falling to his knees. "I thought you were lost! That Koga killed you!"
His surprise was similar, Lance said with a grim smile, leaning away from the screen. As everyone looked, Koga's body appeared on display. He was alive, evidenced by the rising and falling of his chest, but his eyes were rolled back, and his head hung limp and drooling. The ninja was dragged aside, only for another surprise guest to appear, the hulking fighting master, Bruno.
"We caught him while he was busy watching his monitor,"
said the big man,
"saying something about redirection and stealth. Ironic that it rebounded on him shortly after that. He'll live, but he couldn't take the pain. I broke his arms and legs."
Bruno looked menacingly through the screen.
"Something I was planning for you, Will, if I hadn't heard about what you'd done afterward."
Will gave a shaky laugh, which quickly turned to a yelp of surprise as the ornate double doors exploded open behind them. There stood Lance, Dragonite at his side, wearing the full uniform and cape that signified his rank as champion. He stood tall, in perfect health, with no healing bandages to be seen. Karen collapsed backward onto the throne, and Umbreon's Pokeball clattered to the ground where it lay.
"Dragonite?"
Claire uttered in a dry choke.
"But Koga took it! What is the meaning of this, cousin?"
"I would ask you the same," Lance boomed, and his eyes flashed. "Why was there such glee in your voice when your man from Team Rocket, masquerading as me, set 2 towers ablaze? Was it worth having your own country burn if it meant shaming me out of power?"
You have no right to judge me!"
Claire shrieked, leaping backward.
"You took Apollo! You killed Apollo!"
Her 2 Dragonair took the battle floor at once, ready to defend their trainer. But Lance spoke something in his secret tongue, and one of them drew away, head lowered in submission. The other hesitated, then charged at Dragonite with its horn. A second later, the Dragonair was blown away in the roar of Dragonite's hyper beam, plunging down into the treetops below. "I did not kill Apollo," said Lance sternly. "Nor did I wish him to die, only to pay for his crimes. Stop deflecting, Claire. If you test me any further, I shall not be merciful." Looking at Dragonite, Gold could tell that it shared its master's mind. It was a good-natured beast, as all gold dragons tended to be, and had taken no pleasure in knocking out Dragonair. But in its bright eyes was a righteous anger to bring down these wicked people who had made a lawless den of their home. And Claire was not moving.
"I won't concede this!" she persisted proudly. "When the Johto League was plummeting toward bankruptcy, you did nothing! I was the one who coaxed Apollo to the table and made up for our losses. When you went vigilante and endangered our deal, I stopped you, but I spared your life." "Oh yes," she hissed through her teeth. "There was a vote. I had to break a tie, but your life was in my hands. And how did you repay me?" Claire's nostrils flashed angrily. "You threw me out of my own gym. You betrayed the League's interests a 3rd time. That was when I realized my mistake, that you would never stop, even with your Pokemon gone. The moment I heard of Apollo's fate, I declared your life forfeit. You were supposed to die. Why couldn't you?" She snapped her arm back and whipped a Pokeball onto the field with savage force. Out of the summoning light, her Kingdra materialized, hovering on a whirlpool of its own water. "All this self-justification," sighed Lance, shaking his head wearily. "Who are you trying to impress? Me?
The woman on the throne behind you? The people of Johto who watched this recording? At his bidding, Dragonite lunged. Kingdra managed to exhale a single puff of green flames from its snout before the golden dragon smashed it to the floor. Gold wondered, in the midst of his awe, if Lance was still holding out his mercy. He easily could have commanded Kingdra to turn upon its master again, like the first time in Blackthorn. This way was, at least, less humiliating for her in front of a regional audience.
Enough euphemism,
spoke Lance, pointing his finger.
Speaking ever of the Johto League's interests, they are your best interests. You were days away from securing your own place in the Elite Four after mine needed filling. It was a major step forward in your lifelong quest to be the world's greatest Dragon Master. But shutting down others so that you remain the only one by default?
He shook his head again.
That's a craven way to go about it. Gyarados!
Claire loosed her final Pokeball, and the gargantuan form of the sea serpent appeared with a scream, jaws agape.
My place is here!
Claire cried defiantly.
I have worked for it, and I've earned it! Even if I may have lost this fight, you're nothing but an illegitimate
The last word was drowned out in the din of Dragonite's thunder attack, but Gold thought he heard the word cheat. A small part of him sympathized for Claire, to have wanted something so badly for so long, and then having all her carefully laid plans fall to ruin after her rival cheated death. A larger part of him marveled at the sheer breadth and depth of the disgraced gym leader's hypocrisy. After admitting all the underhanded deeds she had done to remove him, up to and including murder, her lack of self-awareness was truly remarkable. When the light faded, and Gold plucked up the courage to unstop his ears and peek out his eyelids, he wasn't surprised at the sight. The massive Gyarados, atrocious bulwark that it was against any trainer who braved Claire's gym, had never stood a chance. It lay, black and sizzling, at the arena's edge, where momentum had carried it after a failed dodge attempt. Claire was also on the ground, having been close enough to the lightning strike that it must have stunned her unconscious. Her one remaining Dragonair hovered by her side, protectively, but not aggressively. Lance sighed. You never saw it, cousin. You were only a faint imitation of another ambitious woman. A shadow under her shadow. His eyes lifted to Karen, and his voice hardened and grew in authority.
Get off my throne!